You know how sometimes you can see just one single frame of a film and you know, like, instantly who directed it? Well, today we're going to talk about a filmmaker whose signature is just that powerful. I'm talking about the legendary Greek director Theo Angelopoulos.
And what's really cool is that for this explainer, our guide is basically going to be the director himself. We're pulling from his own words from this fantastic collection of interviews where he really just unpacks his entire life's work. So let's get into it.
I mean, the book's editor, Dan Finerud, he just hits the nail on the head. He says there's this undeniable artistic personality in every single shot, which really makes you wonder, right? What is it? What's the secret sauce that makes an Angelopoulos film so unmistakably his?
All right, so let's get into it. An unmistakable film auteur, recognizing a master's touch in a single frame. We're going to break down the key pieces of his unique vision, everything from the history that shaped him to the totally radical filmmaking techniques he came up with. First up, a cinema forged by history. And this is so key because to get his art, you have to understand the world he came from. See, Angelopoulos didn't just, read about history in a book. He lived it. His films were literally born from the trauma of 20th century Greece.
And just look at this timeline. His life was just shaped by constant, non-stop turmoil. He was a kid during World War II. He came of age during this incredibly brutal civil war, and then he starts his career as a filmmaker under a military dictatorship. I mean, come on. His films weren't just political for the sake of it. No way. They were a direct response, a direct reaction to the only world he'd ever known. And he says it himself right here. It's so personal. He felt like his entire generation was just wounded by all this history. And that feeling, that sense of a country in ruins, not just materially but spiritually too, that became the absolute core theme of his early super political films. So, to tackle all this heavy political stuff, Angelopoulos did something really interesting. He didn't want you to just get lost in the story and turn your brain off. So he borrowed this idea from the playwright Bertolt Brecht, and it's called Brechtian alienation. The whole point is to kind of push you back a little, to create some distance, so that you're forced to think critically about what you're seeing, not just, passively feel the emotions.
And here's how he explains his method. He's saying that by constantly moving the camera, constantly shifting your perspective in one single shot, he stops you from getting too comfortable or latching onto one single character. Instead, you're kind of jolted from one thing to the next. And what that does is it turns you into an active participant, a critical observer. It really shows you that for him, style wasn't just about looking cool. It was deeply, deeply political.
Okay, but then something happened. Europe started to change, and so did Angelopoulos. He started to feel like those big political stories, the classic right versus left thing, they just weren't making sense anymore. They were losing their meaning. And this led to a massive, profound shift in his work.
And wow, this quote just says it all. History is now silent. He felt that big history, history with a capital H, had just gone quiet. The old battles, the old ideas, they were gone. So what do you do then? Where do you find answers? Well, he said you have to start digging into yourself. And that right there, that's the moment he turns from the collective to the personal, from the political to the existential.
And you can see that shift so clearly right here. His career really is in two acts. On the left, you've got that political period, right? It's all about history, ideology, the state, this big collective struggle. But then look at the right. The later films turn completely inward. Now he's exploring things like silence, personal history, memory, borders, exile. The questions he's asking are suddenly less about the state and way more about the soul.
So his films started asking these huge, universal questions that, honestly, we all think about. What does it really mean to be in exile? Not just from your country, but maybe from yourself? What are the borders that define us, the ones on a map and the ones inside our own heads? He really became this poet of displacement, searching for meaning in a world that felt like it had gone completely silent.
Okay, so we've talked about the what, the themes of his films. Now let's get into the how. How did he actually do it? Let's deconstruct his unique film language, because this is where you can really see his genius at work.
So his number one signature move is the sequence shot. You probably know it as the long take, but it's so much more than just not cutting. First, his camera is almost always moving, just gracefully observing everything from a distance. Second, he lets his shots breathe. He'll start recording seconds before the action starts, and I'll keep rolling for seconds after it ends. What this means is that he's basically editing in the camera, right on set. He's creating this organic, natural pace. And the result of all this? He's inviting you, the viewer, to be his partner.
And listen, he was so against traditional fast-paced editing. He actually used this incredibly strong language to describe it. He called it, and this is a direct quote, raping the audience. It's shocking, I know, but for him, it was because he believed that all those quick cuts, they rob you of the ability to think for yourself. They just force the director's vision right on top of you.
And that gets to the heart of it. His goal was to make you, the spectator, a partner in the creative process. Those long takes aren't just a stylistic quirk. No, they're an invitation. He's giving you the time and the space to look around the frame, to decide for yourself what's important, to become a co-creator of the film's meaning. The effect is it's profound. You're not just watching a story anymore. You feel like you're actually inhabiting a moment in time.
And all of this, it all builds to what might be his most beautiful and, honestly, most profound idea of all. The idea that his entire career wasn't just a bunch of separate movies. It was one single, unending film.
And here's this amazing little detail that proves it. Not a single one of his films ever finishes with the classic words, "the end." He believed the last word of each film was basically the first word of the next one. He saw each one as just another chapter flowing right into the next, making one long continuous story that was, well, the story of his life's work. And here it is, his ultimate statement on art. We make only one film. We write only one book. It's all variations and fugues on the same theme. He really believed that every artist is kind of stuck with their obsessions, right? You just keep coming back to the same big themes over and over. And for him, his whole body of work was just one long, gorgeous, symphonic exploration of history, of memory, and of silence.
So we're left with this really big, powerful question to think about. What does it actually mean for an artist to make their entire life's work one single, unending story? I mean, by looking at his films this way, as one continuous journey, Angelopoulos completely challenges how we think about a filmography, or maybe even what a life's work can be. It's just an incredible testament to the power of a single, focused vision. A reminder that art can be so much more than just a collection of different pieces. It can be a lifelong conversation with the world.